And the podcast is live on air. Today I just have Hassan with me. I want to jump now to a completely different thing, something we talked about off air. So this is where Hassan and I are going to talk a little bit about, you know, take a trip down memory lane, and we're going to, visit pretty much the 2000s era. So all the way from 2000 to 2010, that decade. And we're going to talk about some of our favorite players in that era. They're not, again, we try to avoid taking players from big clubs. So I was telling Hassan yesterday on Twitter, like Henry is off limits. Like we cannot mention Henry. Again, he's everyone's favorite player from that era. So Henry's out, but we're going to try and talk about, like a group of 7 players that Hassan and I've picked my 7, he's picked his 7, and we're going to discuss those players in a little detail, in some fond memories of some of those players. And these are just our favorites. They're not the best, they're just our favorites. So Hassan, do you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
Um, I think we should like rotate a bit, alternate a
Okay.
bit,
Okay.
just to
All
be
right.
regular.
All right. So
Um,
why don't you go with your first one? I'll then tell you my first one.
it's gonna be a bit of an obvious one, and it is JJ Okocha.
Okay. All right.
I mean, I think most people watch the Premier League at the time will know what I'm saying, and I personally, like, because I do watch a lot of Nigeria games, so he was my favorite player with Nigeria as well. And just, I mean, he was amazing skills wise. I mean, there was the game against Aston Villa, I think it was in the cup. I forgot, in which he scored two free kicks, one of which was just ridiculous. He like bent it around the wall and it came. I have no idea how to describe it. It was that good.
He was a really, again, Bolton of that era used to pick up players. Uh, I remember they had Jardim, they had what was his name?
Jardel, you mean?
Yeah, Jardel. Sorry, Jardel. There was who else? I
Ivan
forget his.
Campo.
Ivan Campo. I remember. There was a forward,
Giannakopoulos.
and who's the forward that they had from Mexico? I think.
Was it Jared Borghetti?
Yeah, Jared Borghetti. That's the one. Jared Borghetti. Um,
Uh, and they had the Jaidi. They had
Jaidi.
Jeskalainen, Fadiga. I mean, to be fair, people always talk about Big Sam, but there's one thing I
Yeah.
like about Sam Allardyce, and it's unlike Tony Pulis, for example. He is willing to give skillful players a chance,
Hmm.
and he's willing to give actually foreign players a chance.
Yeah, he
I mean,
is.
this is a guy who, when he went to Sunderland, the 3 guys he signed, Lamine Kone from Lorient, Jan Kirchhoff from Bayern, and Wahbi Khazri from Bordeaux.
Yeah.
I mean, Pulis would have probably signed George Boyd or something. So,
Yeah.
I mean, he appreciates skill. That's something I like about Big Sam, and especially that Bolton team. I mean,
Yeah.
that was actually a fun team.
UC Escalion was in one of my in my almost made it list. I actually picked another goalkeeper in my almost made it list, but actually I have no goalkeepers in my actual 7. So I'm going to go with my first one, Ricardo Carvalho. Uh,
Oof.
I remember him. He was really, one of my favorite players in that mid 2000s Jose team. I absolutely loved him. He came. I think he came along with Paulo Ferreira. Is that correct? I
Yes.
never liked Paulo
And
Ferreira.
was it Nuno Valente signed by Everton that season, or was it the season after
I
also?
don't know. I don't remember. I'll have to check. But I absolutely used to love Ricardo Carvalho. Uh, he was such a good player for them in that, in those Jose years when they were just so stout defensively, and they made 1-0 look good. They used to make 1-0 wins look really good. So, do you remember any fond thoughts on Ricardo Carvalho?
Um, there's a case, Carvalho and Terry is the greatest ever, uh, you know, center back pairing in Premier League history. I think it's between them and Vidic. I mean,
It is
the
Ferdinand
Premier
and
League in the late 2000s, I think 3 of arguably the top 6, 7 defensive partnerships in Premier League history were, at the same time.
mhm.
That was Carvalho Terry, Ferdinand Vidic, and Kara and Hipia.
Yeah.
So, which it would be better than anything right now,
And
easily.
skirt. Don't forget Skirtalager.
I wish we had Skertalager right now, to
Yeah.
be fair. So
All right.
we could have
Who's the
mocked them.
next? Who's the next one on your list?
Um, yeah, I'm gonna mention. Well, I'll give a bit of a backstory. So, my first ever game I've watched in the Premier League was, and this is something I mentioned to you and Paul,
Yeah.
was Fulham and Middlesbrough.
Yeah.
That was in August 2007, which ended 2-1, and David Healy should have equals 92nd minute. The referee didn't give it. So I've always had a soft spot for Fulham as a result. So when they made the run to the Great Escape in 2007-8 and the Great Run to the Europa League final, so they were one of my favorite teams, and I have to mention two guys from those teams, and they were Aaron Hughes and Brede Hangeland, actually. So I can't really take one of them off. I might add Mark Schwarzer to that, but
Okay.
that's separate discussion. So there's those three I really am fond of as a result.
So,
Those
so
are there's also Sultan Kira as
okay.
well. So I'll probably have, if I were to pick two, it's probably Hangeland and Zoltan Gera from from that team.
Okay. So those make up your two and three.
Those are my 2 and 3.
Okay. So I'll give you my two and three here. So I'll give you my two first. Mark Viduka. I can't think of 2000s without thinking about big Mark Viduka. Easily one of my favorite players to watch. You know, again, I remember his debut against us. Um, again, how could you not love? How could you not love that? It was a player that always baffled me, like how he did the things he did because of his size. He was so nimble, also pretty quick for his size as well. Again, one of my favorite strikers in the Premier League at that time. Again, it was between him, you know, and we talked. You mentioned to me yesterday, Jimmy Floyd Hasselbaink, um, but Mark Viduka gets on my list. And number three is Damien Duff, a player that I wanted more than anyone in the mid 2000s. Maybe the only other player I think I wanted more than Damien Duff at the time, in like the 2003 time period, was Kieran Dyer from Newcastle. Um, I wanted Damien Duff. I settled with Harry Kewell. I was happy that we got Harry Kewell, but I always wanted Damien Duff. You know, any fond memories of his time at Chelsea when he made up that you know, these they had those two wingers, Robin and Duff, and then Joe Cole as well to some degree. Do you
Uh, I mean, I like Damien Duff when he was at Fulham more than when he was with Chelsea, to be fair.
you
Also, I
mean
have to say
you
that
mean Blackburn?
I really like Clint Dempsey, but he was in the 2010s.
Wait, did you say
So
Fulham or you meant Blackburn, right? For Damien Duff?
no, I meant like Fulham because he was at Fulham for 4 seasons.
Oh, right, right, right.
I don't really remember him with Blackburn. I was
No,
really
this
young.
was
I mean,
no, but he was at
he was
Blackburn. He was at
yeah, I
Blackburn
know
before. Yeah.
him. He was with Blackburn. There was, uh, two guy, Brett Emerton.
Oh yeah. Brett Emerton
Blackburn
was
had some interesting.
Brett Emerton. He's a legend. He's a legend for me. Brett Emerton, the
Uh,
Aussie, the Aussie awesomeness. That's what he was. He was awesome. I love Brett Emerton. Two guy was great. Two guy was absolutely great. And then Manish was another one, by the way. I didn't mention when I mentioned Ricardo Carvalho when he came over. Manish was another one. Came over from that Porto team.
uh, I think Damien Duff is one of the most underrated players from
Yeah,
that Chelsea team.
definitely,
So,
definitely.
um, because and he was, I mean, besides being good technically, he was a real like hard worker
And he
as
had a
well.
lot of pace on him.
Initially, he had a lot of pace, which went with age.
Yeah,
And one of the best, I think, one of the best Irish players of all time has to be mentioned. Um, so yeah.
yeah.
As for Hasselbank, the I think it was against Basel in the quarterfinals of the UEFA Cup when Middlesbrough made the run to the final, in which he just hit a shot right into the top corner,
Hmm.
which they just need one more, and they got in last minute Matteo Macaroni. So yeah, he was one of the best strikers of the ball.
Yeah,
I
and
think,
he used to strike it with
and
such venom.
especially during that time.
Yeah,
Um, and I mean, he was a really good player, and he was a bit underrated because
he was.
Netherlands at the time. I mean, you had a side that had Bergkamp until '98, and I think he stopped playing for Netherlands after 2002 Bergkamp. But they had also Van Nistelrooy. Roy Mackay had like 35 caps for the
Yeah.
Netherlands as well. So they had a bunch of strikers,
Hmm.
and Hasselbaink just wasn't mentioned as much as those
And he was
players.
always good in the Premier League, even with his time at Leeds. He always was good. He never had.
He was always a real goal scorer. Just never. I think he's never won a final or just won one in Portugal. Yet was runners up for like 4 or 5 times.
Hmm.
So it was a heartbreaking run for him.
Was that your fourth, by the way?
I would say he is, and I would have mentioned Viduka, but since you mentioned them, I'm gonna
Okay.
have to.
Okay.
I mentioned his name too, guy. The most random, because I would have to mention two players because they had extraordinary goals, and they are two guy from Blackburn, and it's Matty Taylor,
Portsmouth.
Portsmouth. And for those who played fantasy Premier League at the time, he was a he was he was a defender on fantasy football, yet was playing like left wing
Yeah.
and scoring 6, 7 goals a season. So he was fantastic, and he personally made it a mission to score the goal of the season. I think he had like 3 consecutive goals from 25 yards, and he had that great volley from the halfway line. So yeah, just for his ability to strike the ball really well, I have to mention Matty Taylor,
So that's your fourth and fifth. Is that correct?
fourth and fifth.
All right. All right. So Jimmy Floyd Hasselbank and Matt Taylor. Okay, I'll give you my fourth. Since you mentioned Hasselbank as a striker, I'm going to go with another player who did play for Chelsea for a little period of time. McHale Forsell.
Oh God, I was like thinking played for Chelsea, and for some reason I remembered Steve Sidwell.
So no, it was McHale Forsell, the player I always thought Eidur Gudjohnsen should have been. That's the way I look at it. So I absolutely love McHale Forsell when he was at Burn.
Oh God, why did you offend Johnson that way? By the way, Mikael Forsell is there's one thing, he had the most random 15 plus goal scoring season Premier League
Yes,
history.
he did.
He had
And when
17 one season. I don't think he's hit more than. I don't think he has another one in double digits.
McHale Forsell at his time at Birmingham City was when I thought that there was a time when I thought McHale Forsell absolutely like I thought everyone in the Premier League was missing out on this amazing striker. During the 2003-4 season when he scored 17 goals, I thought, how is nobody picking this guy? How did nobody see how good this guy is? And that's when I thought, this is what Eidur Gudjohnsen should have been. That's how, I mean, Eidur Gudjohnsen always should have been. He was always a poor man's McHale Forsell for me. So,
I
McHale
think
Forsell.
I'm just concerned that the next player on the list is gonna be Timo Tiny or something. Paul
No, no,
Stalteri.
no,
Paul
no, no.
Stalteri.
No,
By the
it's
way,
not.
he had. I think was it. I'm not sure if it was in Premier League or in the Cup in which he had that goal from 40 yards.
Who?
Like there was a random goal from 40 yards by Paul Stalteri. I have no idea against who. Just remember he had an amazing goal.
I don't remember either. Oh, by the way, McHale Forsell is still playing.
Really?
Yeah, he's still playing. He's
Is it in Finland?
he's playing in Finland. It's association football, HIFK. Yeah, he's
To be fair, like Jari Litmanen can still play for in Finland,
yeah.
probably.
It's association, and he scored 8 goals in 25 games this season. By the way, just to let you know. So, oh, and by the
Amazing.
way, he had double digits. By the way, and after that, he had double digits for. Actually, no, I don't think he had double digits after that.
I'm checking. He has one 9 goal season in the Premier League in 2007-8. Those
Okay.
were the heady days.
Yeah.
And he had one in Bundesliga in which he scored a remarkable 7. Even in the Finnish league, he had one season with 14 goals in 2013, then 7.
Yeah.
So yeah, he has 3 seasons, counting the Premier League, once in the Premier League, once in the old first division, and once in the Finnish top division.
Hmm.
If he scored double digits goal.
Yeah.
So
Now, I'll give you
amazing.
my number 5 right now. Center back, and since we talked about center back partnerships, we mentioned Sammy, Kara, Vidic Ferdinand, Terry, and Carvalho. Another center back that I have on my list is Ugo Ekiag. Rest in peace, Ugo. But I always liked him with Gareth Southgate and that Middlesbrough team. I know you have a soft spot for Middlesbrough as well, but I always liked him. He was one of the defenders, one of the center backs I always liked. Do you have any fond thoughts of Ugo?
Problem is, the time I remember him, he got a lot of injuries.
Yeah.
So I don't remember him that well. I remember Chris Riggett for
Hmm.
some reason. I remember Gareth Southgate,
Yes.
obviously. That was a weird Middlesbrough team.
Yeah.
Like Brad
Juninho.
Jones was rotating the starting keeper job with Ross Turnbull in the late 2000s. Tunshai, who was a weird player, I think.
Hmm.
You had, but I think Morrison came out of the academy
Yeah. Adam
as
Morrison,
well,
Stuart Downing.
and Adam Johnson, technically.
Yeah.
I don't want to mention his name, but you sort of have to.
But what about? And there was also I don't know if Juninho was there at the time. Had he already moved on?
I mean, Janino was like late 90s more,
No,
I
but
think.
he was there in the 2000s. I remember he used to
I
be.
think he was in like 2003 he
Yeah.
left, or
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah, he was there in the 2000s. Massimo Macarone was another one who was there for a while.
Amazing player.
Yeah, always like
Amazing.
Massimo. I always like Massimo. He was another one.
The most he was scoring goals for Empoli. Um, yeah, I think he scored 13 2 seasons ago. 2 seasons ago he had 13. The year before he had 10.
Oh, right. I remember he was at Empoli when we were linked with Zielinski. Remember?
Zelensky, Empoli had a really good midfield
Yeah,
over
they
his
had.
second season.
Yeah, I remember when we were linked to
So
Zielinski. I was like, Massimo Macarone is still playing and scoring?
you never doubt the Massimo.
Never.
So
Okay, so.
I mean, and he scored the 2 crucial goals that got Middlesbrough to the UEFA Cup final
Mm-hmm.
as well
Yep.
against Stoya in the semi-final, like a diving header. Um,
Who's
um,
your sixth?
Giulio Belletti.
Oh, okay. All right.
I mean, if you want the most random guy to have ever won the Premier League, and did he win the Premier League?
I'll tell you right now.
Chelsea?
I'll tell you
I
right
need to
now.
check. Yes, he did,
Yeah, he
2009.
did. Yeah, he did.
So the most random player to win, if you were to pick someone, right, who's won the World Cup, La Liga, Premier League, and the Champions League? And one of the answers would be Giulio Belletti. And he had a great strike on him when he wanted to, and he won the Champions League for Barcelona basically with a goal and an assist.
He also won the Brazilian championship.
Amazing,
For
just amazing.
yeah,
Giuliano Belletti had said Giulio first time around.
yeah.
So yeah, if you want the most random, amazing career in terms of winning, that has to be it.
He's the Robert Ory of football.
Um,
But Ori actually
and that,
contributed.
to be fair to Belletti, he does have like that Champions League final. He scored the winning goal.
Yeah.
Like you can't doubt his role in that.
All right, I'll give you my sixth. Laurent Robert. Um, Again, another player that I always enjoyed watching. I used to enjoy everything from that early 2000s Newcastle team. Laurent Robert was another player I really enjoyed. Could hit it at a sweet left foot. Used to always play well against Arsenal. I remember for some reason. Um, used to love his game. I know you mentioned Nobby Solano the other day, and I was thinking who should I put in there, but I kind of wanted to go back to like Robert because he was my favorite and because he could hit them from way out there. So Robert was definitely my number 6. I put him in there. Um, Do you have any thoughts on Robert, or you want to go to your seventh?
Amazing left foot.
Yeah, amazing.
Just amazing. And that, yeah, you mentioned Solano. He would be in the honorable mentions.
He's an
Uh,
honorable mention.
Pedro Mendes is an honorable mention.
Mr. Portsmouth again, huh?
Ryderson, an honorable mention. I did mention Lassana Diarra as well to you.
Yeah,
Honorable
yesterday on
mention.
Twitter.
There's a lot of players I'm trying to think of who I have to mention a bit
Sure.
in terms of this discussion. So for that brief time, Obafemi Martins. Tim Cahill, I didn't like him with Everton. I've liked him ever since he's left Everton. Um, who else? I'm trying to think of other players I might have forgotten.
I'll give you my almost made it list. See if you remember any of these. Okay, so I mentioned I mentioned Kieran Dyer. We also talked yesterday about Scott Parker. Shay Given was on my almost made it list. Morten Gams Pedersen was on my almost made it list, and Lee Hendry was on my almost made it list.
I wanted to make a shout out to Morten Gans Pedersen as well.
Yeah.
He was amazing on Championship Manager 2003, 2004, sorry, along with Johan Absalonsen.
You know who was really good on Championship Manager, like 2001, I think 0102, if I'm not mistaken, was on Man United was Bojan Djordjic.
I don't even know him.
Bojan Djordjic. He was awesome. I mean, the only player who was better than him was Arjen Robben in that game. Only player who was better.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to respond to that.
Morten Gams Pedersen, and I was telling you I think I was telling you and Paul like my take on Salah. Like I have a take that I have on Salah. I think that Salah is the best wide player in the Premier League since Morten Gams Pedersen. That's my take.
Salah doesn't have as good a left foot as
No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't.
And the greatest story about a guy who was right-footed when he was born, and then his father told him, you can be more successful as an average player if you're left-footed. So he trained himself to be left-footed. That's actually true.
But I mean, just look at the willpower of the kid, huh? His father.
Yeah, I mean, I've known him since 2003, from Championship Manager 2004. He was with Tromsø in Norway, and all the time I would sign him and a guy called Johan Absalonsen, and they would be like the focal points of the most dominant side in Europe.
Morten Gams Pedersen, what a wonderful player. So did you give me your
linked to us quite a lot?
Yeah, he was, especially in the mid to late 2000s, like 2007-ish time. I remember. Did you give me your seventh, Hassan?
No.
All right.
You mentioned Blackburn earlier, and he is one of the most underrated defenders, I think. In his prime, he was great.
Okay.
And he's the greatest emergency striker.
Oh God, I know who it is. I know who it is.
Christopher Samba.
Yeah, of course it is Christopher Samba. He was a great defender. I got it.
Blackburn had a good partnership.
Yes, they did.
I forgot his name. The guy from Ryan Nelson.
Ryan Nelson
from New Zealand. He was like, those two were pretty solid together.
Ryan Nelson and Christopher Samba were underrated as hell.
Ryan Nelson has a book.
I don't want to read it.
Apparently, I think he co-wrote a book. Although, and I have to, since I mentioned that, Steve Bruce actually has 3 murder and mystery books, basically. That's something that yes, you can look them up and you can read them.
I wouldn't want to. That being the case, like that's as strange as my friend and I we'd gone to like a music store. This was like 10 years ago, and at the time the Warriors were just terrible, and they actually, as their backup point guard, had Troy Williams. He used to be the backup point guard for the Timberwolves during the Kevin Garnett, Wally Szczerbiak time. And I remember like going with my friend to this record store, and we actually saw Troy Williams's record, and Troy Hudson, not Troy Williams, Troy Hudson, and his rap name was T Hud. T Hud. So this is as strange as seeing that stupid T Hud record over there. And luckily, neither of us bought it, and we were saved.
I just checked his Undrafted is the debut album by NBA player Troy Hudson under his nickname T Hud.
T Hud, yes, T Hud.
Features from Ray J, 3-6 Mafia, and UGK.
Well, UGK actually those are not bad features, to be honest with you. I mean, those are actually popular.
UGK had Big Pimpin' with the Jay-Z.
Yeah,
so
UGK was definitely big.
That was the highlight of his life, basically.
Yeah, certainly not playing for that Warrior team. So I can tell you that. But okay, I'll give you my seventh. As I kept this particularly seventh for you because I know you would like it. So I had realized on my list I didn't have a fullback, so I wanted a fullback in there. And I tried not to do it position-wise, but I wanted to do a fullback, and I can't think of a better fullback that didn't come from a big club than J. Lloyd Samuel.
Oh my God.
I could not think of a better fullback. I mean, J. Lloyd Samuel for a little bit of time was one of the best left backs in the Premier League. There is no way to suggest that he wasn't. I absolutely thoroughly love J. Lloyd Samuel.
You know what my favorite J. Lloyd Samuel fact is?
What?
He played for 4 seasons in Iran.
Did he? I gotta check that out.
And then, I think his last 2 ever teams were in Iran. I think he went to Istiqlal, and I think he went somewhere else as well.
He's only 36.
Istiqlal, sorry, that's Istiqlal.
He's only 36, by the way. He's still playing, by the way.
He is a player coach. This is a player manager. Sorry. So if there's any more proof that he is the greatest ever left back to have ever lived, that's it.
J. Lloyd Samuel. He played from 1998 to 2011 pretty much in the Premier League.
He was with Villa. Him, Gareth Barry, Lee Henry. So
he was absolutely one of my favorites. I could not. He even scored 3 goals that 2003-04 season. He was unique.
I mean, it's strange that you mentioned, these 2 Villa players without mentioning Bosco Balaban.
I could not put Bosco in there. He was never my favorite. But Lee Hendry was, for some reason, it was not so much Lee Hendry's game that I liked so much. I actually like David Dunn's game better than Lee Hendry. But
David Dunn was amazing.
David Dunn, I thought he was a good player who was robbed by injuries, in my opinion.
And he was so slow.
Yeah, he was slow. And he has that great highlight, by the way. Have you seen that great YouTube video of his where he tripped over the ball? He's trying.
Well, he's trying. I think it was a Rabona.
Yeah, and he completely screws it up. And but again, David Dunn, definitely one of the players that I wanted him. He could. I used to really like, but I put Lee Hendry in only because I liked his hair better. So
I have to. Can I make an 8th edition?
Sure,
because
go
you
ahead.
just reminded me. And these, I mean, I will mention 2 guys. So it's Olaf Melberg and Martin Larsson.
Yeah, Olaf Melberg. What a beard.
But the best one was Juan Pablo Angel.
Juan Pablo Angel. He used to do so good in MLS when he was here. He was absolutely terrific, and he was a really good header of the ball. Juan Pablo Angel.
To be fair, Bradley Wright Phillips does really well in MLS.
Sean Wright Phillips, another player I would want to put in my
He went to Chelsea, which sort of ruins it.
Yeah, he went to Chelsea,
and I would have mentioned Wayne Bridge, but also sort of ruins it.
Wayne Bridge was again another player who, before injuries really hit, he was really good. Again, one of those players that I really used to enjoy, but he was no J. Lloyd Samuel. That's for sure.
And also there was Mark Poom, the greatest Estonian player until Ragnar Klavan came to the Premier League.
And Ragnar Klavan is clearly taking that title away from him, for sure.
I like Klavan, to be fair. So, he gets a lot of pay, but I mean, if you're gonna talk about a fourth choice center back, he's fine. He gets too much hate. He's gonna be on my like favorite, cult heroes from Liverpool.
Yeah,
At some
Ragnar
point.
Klavan, he's like Kyriakos, and like Kolo Toure.
Kolo Toure is a bona fide legend, to be fair. He's not a
Yes.
cult hero. Kolo Toure was amazing. Kyriakos, I mean, what else can we say besides being the greatest ever Greek player to play for Liverpool?
Actually, cult hero is someone like Milan Jovanovic. I would say that. Like, terrible player, but just for that one run against Arsenal, he goes into cult status for sure.
I think no one has Konchesky on that list.
No one has it except for me and as my profile pick. That's it.
And for those who want to go down memory lane, I just want to remind you guys that the left back choice was between Paul Konchesky and Maynard Figueroa.
Figueroa. This
Also, we have to, because we mentioned him, we have to mention Matthew Etherington.
Matthew Etherington was definitely there. I mentioned it yesterday to you.
Ashton.
Dean Ashton, I mentioned yesterday to you. But that again, that Wigan team was underrated. Figueroa, Wilson Palacios, Amir Zaki, uh,
Well,
Antonio
they
Valencia.
Wilson Palacios later on, yeah. There was the guy. They had basically the whole Honduras side in the team. What is it? Thomas, the defensive midfielder, Henry Thomas.
But I don't remember for Wigan.
Yeah, he spent like one season with them.
Hold on,
Henry Thomas, yes.
yeah, Henry Thomas. Yeah, that's right.
Who is playing with Fort Lauderdale Strikers.
He was, yeah, to 2015.
He's
No
still
more.
32.
Also, since we mentioned one more, will for the road, Hayden Mullins, the man who kept out Mascherano.
Yeah. That's just sad. Alan Pardew. Hello?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Yeah, because so also, I mean that Reading had a fun side
Mm-hmm.
actually
Definitely.
as well. So Steve Sidwell, you had Kevin Doyle, Leroy Lita, um, and one of the top 5 keepers from America in Premier League history. And I just forgot his name.
Oh, wait.
He went to
God.
Wolves later on.
I.
Its name starts with an H.
Let's see.
He's
The only
bald.
one. The only one I remember was Tim Howard, Casey Keller, Brad Friedel. There was the Brad Guzan, uh,
Marcus Hanneman.
Marcus Hanneman. Yes, Reading, as I remember him. Oh, and okay, since you put an eighth in, I'm going to put an eighth in. Kevin Nolan. That makes my list up from Bolton. You mentioned Bolton. We started off with JJ Kocha. I'm going to mention Kevin Nolan.
He was a fun player.
Yeah,
Like at that time.
Kevin Nolan, the Bolton. He was basically like the semi-good Gerrard. That's why I remember him.
I would say quarter.
Okay, all right. We'll be kind. We'll be kind to Stephen. We'll call him the quarter good Gerrard. But
Do
yeah,
you like Kevin Davis or not?
Kevin Davis.
Yes.
Only if you tell me that you like. Was it Kevin Lisby for Charlton? One who scored a hat trick against
Yeah.
us. Yeah. If only you tell me you like him.
The most random hat trick maybe ever.
Yeah, I watched that. I remember watching that game. I was shocked. I was like, "Who is this guy?" Along with what's his name, Jason for Charlton. He used to be the striker for Charlton most of the time. Jason, forget it now. But yeah, this is
Is it? Do you mean the South African guy?
Jason Ewell. That's the one.
Jason Newell.
Jason Ewell. I
He
remember
was
him
with
now.
Blackpool when they got promoted, I think.
Was he?
I think so. Yeah, he was with the Blackpool in the Premier League. Played 3 times. That's checked.
Yeah, I'll check it right now.
And you have Matt Holland with Charlton as well.
Oh, Matt Holland. Matt
Scott
Holland.
Parker.
Scott Parker, I was in my thing. As I told you, he was Charlton's Gerrard over there for those seasons. Yeah, he played 4 times. Let me see. Yeah, 3 times in the Premier League for Blackpool. Sad, but he was. You know, it's funny. You know, this guy Jason Ewell in his time at for Charlton, he was double digit scoring 13, 11, 10. Not bad. Not bad at
Solid
all.
stuff. And also James Beattie
James
and
Beattie always.
Darius Vassell, the
Darius
English
Vassell, James
partnership
Beattie.
that never happened. That should have been Defoe and Crouch before Defoe and Crouch.
D- Darius Vassell never. Darius Vassell, James Beattie, Brett Ormerod, all great players. All great players who,
Who was
you know,
I think, Latvian striker that Southampton had?
the Latvian one.
Yes.
God, I have to really rack my head around this.
I can't get it. Like, I'm gonna search for it. Marian
Marian
Pahar.
Pahars. Yes, that's the one. Marian Pahars. God, these when I hear these names, like they take me back to a time when I used to actually watch football so much more than I do now. Whew.
And when football was a bit more enjoyable than this grueling, because we were actually good,
Yeah,
like actually going winning stuff.
yeah. You know, there was another player in there. I'll mention quickly for the last thing, since we were talking about Southampton, and there's actually an article here how Marian Pahars became a cult hero at Southampton. I don't think I want to read that, but there
Are
was
you gonna
another.
mention Antiniemi?
No, not Antiniemi. It's not Antiniemi. It was. Wait a minute. Was it Southampton? Or was it Sunderland? I'm getting confused now. But he was bald. Chris something. Chris Marsden. That's his name. Chris Marsden.
The only Sunderland player I remember from the early 2000s is Kevin Phillips.
Chris Marsden. He played for. Wait, where is it? Did he play? Oh,
I have no
Southampton.
idea.
Yeah,
I have no
Southampton.
idea who he is.
He was bald. He was bald. He looked like he had no business. He looked like he should have been a referee, but he actually was a player. But he played for Southampton from 1999 to 2004. So I always remembered him because of his bald head. So we'll next week, Hassan. What we'll do is we'll do it for international. So we'll do it for maybe La Liga, best players La Liga in the 2000s. So
Can we mention international players? Like random international players rather than just league
oh yeah,
players?
okay, yeah. Let's.
Because I would have to add a few people, just random people.
Oh, I've got a few. I've got a few. I'm not going to mention it to you on air, but I'll talk to you about it off air. But I've got a few who I would do it. One of them is Fowie's favorite players. I think you might guess it. But with that, let's just sign off on this podcast. It was a fun one, and we'll pick it up next week.
Yeah, sure, mate. Bye.
All right. Bye.